Let's get this straight. If you need validation to feel attractive, you're already playing a losing game. Because the truth is, the most attractive men are the ones who don't even realize they are. Not because they're clueless, but because they're too focused on purpose to notice the noise. They're building something bigger than approval, and here's the twist. Most won't say out loud, the men who chase attention rarely get it. But the ones who stand still, the ones who lead with quiet certainty, they don't just attract people, they haunt them. The world conditioned you to believe that unless people are constantly admiring you, swiping right on you, validating you, you must not be attractive. But that's a lie. Attraction isn't always loud. It's often unspoken. It's the tension in the room when you walk in. It's the stillness in your body, the power in your eyes, the way others second-guess themselves in your presence. You're not lacking attraction, you're just not addicted to proving it. And that scares people. Marcus Aurelius said it best. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. The truly attractive man isn't running around trying to explain his value. He embodies it. He walks away without reacting. He stays calm in chaos. He refuses to entertain what insults his peace. That kind of discipline, that kind of restraint, it doesn't just demand respect, it commands it. So, if you've been wondering why people are drawn to you without knowing why, maybe it's because they're witnessing something rare. If people have ever called you hard to read, mysterious, or too intense, understand those weren't criticisms. They were compliments. What they really meant was, I can't figure him out. And it bothers me. Your energy makes people nervous. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you don't need them. You don't flinch when they pull back. You don't panic when they go quiet. You don't play the approval game. And that's exactly what makes you powerful. Comment this if you feel it. Silent confidence is louder than words. Charisma isn't about charm. It's about certainty. Most men walk around unsure of themselves, unsure of their value, their direction, their presence. But you don't need to talk over others to be heard. You don't need to flash status to be seen. You're grounded. You're intentional. You've stopped explaining your standards and started living them. That kind of internal certainty, it pulls people in, even when you're not trying to, especially when you're not trying to. Ever notice how certain men enter a room and the entire dynamic shifts, even if they don't say a word? That's not coincidence. That's energy. Calm, composed, locked-in energy. While everyone else is addicted to reaction, you've mastered restraint. You're present. You're still. You're aware. And in a world of endless noise, your silence is captivating. That's why they lean in when you speak. That's why they mirror your posture. That's why they remember you long after you leave. The world won't hand you a certificate that says, you're attractive now. In fact, it'll resist you, mock you for being different, call you cold for being selective, label you difficult for refusing to shrink. Why? Because you're no longer controllable. You're not craving attention. You're not chasing approval. You're not adjusting yourself to fit in. You're becoming someone who stands out. And the moment you stop needing the world starts needing you. Attractiveness isn't about how many compliments you get. It's about how many people can't stop thinking about you afterward. It's not about how many people follow you. It's about who starts following your lead. When you speak, people feel the weight of your words. When you move, people feel the purpose in your steps. When you detach, people feel the shift in energy, and they notice. Not because you made a scene, but because you left a mark. This is where most men get it twisted. Just because you're not drowning in attention doesn't mean you're not attractive. You might not be flashy, but you're unforgettable. You might not be the loudest in the room, but you're the one they think about in silence. You don't attract through noise. You attract through alignment, through discipline, through grounded presence. You don't walk into a room hoping to be liked. You walk in with purpose. And that, my friend, is what makes people lean in. If this speaks to you, do this now. Like this video, share it with a brother who's been doubting his power, and hit subscribe. Join our channel membership so we can keep dropping truth like this. Unfiltered, unpolished, and real. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more men of presence, men of stillness, men like you. Type this in the comments right now to lock it in. I'm not chasing, I'm becoming. Say it with conviction. This isn't just a video. This is your reminder, your edge. Let's go deeper. Stay focused. Sign 1. People project insecurity onto you, and you didn't do a damn thing. You walk into a room, and instantly someone gets defensive. Their tone shifts. They either try to challenge you or compete with you, and you're left wondering, what did I even do? Nothing. And that's the point. Highly attractive men often trigger the insecurities of others without saying a single word. Your energy makes people look inward, and not everyone likes what they see. That silent confidence. It unsettles the insecure. Your presence forces them to confront where they're lacking. So they either criticize you, compete with you, or avoid you altogether. They might call you cocky just because you didn't overshare. Mysterious because you didn't reveal your entire life in one conversation. Intimidating because your stillness says more than their performance ever could. This is where most men get confused. You think people distancing themselves from you is rejection. You think their passive-aggressive jabs mean you're doing something wrong. But in reality, it's a reflection of your power. As Robert Greene said, power is not what you do. It's how others respond to you. And when you don't seek validation, don't flinch under pressure, and don't overcompensate to be liked. People either want to be around you or get the hell away from you. There's no in-between. Attraction isn't always about admiration. Sometimes it shows up as tension. And if your presence alone is enough to spark that tension, trust me, you're not invisible. You're unforgettable. Sign 2. You're calm under pressure, and it unnerves people. Let's make one thing clear. Most men react. They over-explain. They lash out. They fold when things get uncomfortable. But you don't flinch. And that scares people. Your calm isn't just a personality trait. It's a signal, a warning, that you've seen chaos before and you're not impressed by it. That you've faced loss, rejection, setbacks, and you've come out sharper, quieter, and more unshakable. That nothing external has the power to pull you off center. Understand this. Calmness in a man is not natural in today's overstimulated world. It's earned. It's forged through suffering, through solitude, through restraint. When someone tries to provoke you and you don't take the bait. When the conversation turns heated and your pulse doesn't change. When others gossip, overreact, spiral, and you sit with total presence, people notice, and it messes with them. They'll try to get a rise out of you just to feel in control, because if they can make you react, they can feel less exposed. But when they can't, when your silence feels heavier than their shouting, that's when they realize you're not a man they can play with. This is rare. This is power. And in a world full of loud mouths and shallow tempers, your stillness, it becomes magnetic. As Epictetus said, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. So if you've mastered yourself to the point that people can't rattle you, then you've already become what most men spend their lives pretending to be. Sign 3. People. Either crave your attention or pretend they don't need it. There's something subtle but undeniable that happens when a highly attractive man enters someone's orbit. They either want to earn your attention or pretend they're above it. You'll notice it in conversations. They linger, ask more questions than necessary, subtly try to impress you. Or they go the opposite route, acting cold, disinterested, even dismissive. Not because they don't care, but because they do, and it bothers them. Here's the uncomfortable truth most won't admit. We live in a world where people are addicted to validation. So when they meet someone who doesn't hand it out like candy, someone who's selective with their energy, it drives them crazy. You're not being rude, you're not being standoffish, you're just not performing, and that makes them question their own worth. People who are used to being chased will find your stillness threatening. They'll try to decode you, distract you, provoke you, anything to feel something from you. And when they don't get it, they'll either cling harder or pretend you never mattered. But you'll see it in the little moments. The way they lean in when you speak. The way their tone shifts when you give them just a little praise. The way they light up when you remember something about them. They crave the attention of a man who doesn't need them to feel whole. And when they realize you're not looking for validation, you are the validation, it flips their entire script. Lao Tzu said, "He who does not trust enough will not be trusted." But here's the flip side. He who does not need attention will never be forgotten. If people seem bothered by your presence, but still orbit around you, if they pretend not to care, but keep tabs on your life, that's not coincidence. That's gravity. Sign 4. You set boundaries, without guilt, and it shakes people to their core. Most men are terrified to set boundaries. They overextend, over-apologize, and over-accommodate just to avoid upsetting others. But you've learned to say no, and not with bitterness, just certainty. You don't explain it. You don't negotiate it. You don't dress it up to make it more palatable. You simply honor your time, your energy, and your peace. And make no mistake, that's rare, because we live in a world where people are used to access. They expect you to be available, agreeable, and easy to manipulate. So when you don't fold, when you don't explain yourself away, it destroys their sense of control. Suddenly you're not the nice guy they thought they could walk over. You're not the easy one who's always there. You've become a mirror, showing them the exact place where your self-respect begins, and theirs ends. They'll say you're arrogant. They'll say you've changed. They'll guilt-trip you and question your loyalty. But deep down, they're just not used to a man who values himself more than he values being liked. Real boundaries are a language only self-aware people understand. And the moment you start enforcing them, the room clears. People either rise to meet your standard or resent that it exists. Comment this right now if this hits you hard. Respect isn't requested, it's enforced. Let that be your mantra. Not for them, for you. Because a man who protects his space isn't selfish. He's dangerous. Not because he's harmful, but because he can't be controlled. Sign 5. Your presence lingers. Even when you leave. You've probably felt it. You walk away from an interaction, whether it's a conversation, a date, a meeting, and something strange happens. They don't forget you. You weren't the loudest. You didn't try to impress them. You didn't overshare or overcompensate. But hours later, days later, you're still on their mind. That's not charm. That's not game. That's depth. See, most men try to force an impression. They rely on gimmicks, loud personalities, fast compliments. But those tactics are like smoke, thin, fleeting, forgettable. You, on the other hand, you move differently. You listen more than you speak. You look them in the eye with calm certainty. You carry presence like it means something. And because of that, they feel seen and unsettled. You said less, but they felt more. You didn't chase, but they leaned in. You didn't try to prove anything, and yet they're still wondering, who was that guy? Why do I feel like I need to talk to him again? When a man is truly attractive, when he's aligned, grounded and sure of who he is, he doesn't walk into a room and try to light it up. He leaves the room, and the light stays behind. His memory echoes. As James Baldwin once said, you think your pain and your heartbreak are unprecedented, but then you read. It's the same with presence. You think being quiet makes you forgettable, until you realize the most magnetic men are remembered not for what they said, but for what they made others feel. If your presence lingers, even in silence, you're not lacking attraction. You're operating on a level most people aren't even aware exists. Sign 6. You don't beg for attention, but you get it. Anyway, let's be honest. Most people are starving for attention. They overshare on social media. They perform in conversations. They try to be louder, funnier, flashier, hoping someone will finally notice them. But you're not chasing eyes. You're not thirst-trapping. You're not performing like a clown in a digital circus. And still, they notice you. That's when you know the game has shifted. See? Real attraction doesn't beg. It doesn't scream. It doesn't need a spotlight, because it creates its own. When you're the kind of man who moves with intention, not desperation, when you're focused on your purpose, not public approval, when you're so locked into becoming better that you forget to even look around, that's when the eyes start turning toward you. That's when people start asking, who is he? You're not making noise. You're building pressure. And pressure doesn't need permission to be felt. It just is. That's why some people will suddenly try to check in with you. That's why they'll reach out when you've gone quiet. That's why they circle back. Not because you were always available, but because your absence made more noise than their presence ever could. As Seneca said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. You become attractive the moment people realize your attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. And when you stop begging for it, that's when it comes pouring in. Because the man who needs no attention is the one who silently commands all of it. Sign 7. People try to figure you out, and it bothers them that they can't. There's something about you that doesn't sit easily with people, and that's not a flaw. That's attraction cloaked in mystery. You don't overshare. You don't explain every move. You don't walk around narrating your thoughts like you owe anyone access. And that creates a kind of tension, the good kind, the kind that makes people lean in, the kind that makes them wonder what's going on in his head. What's his story? Why does he seem so calm? Like he knows something the rest of us don't. In a world addicted to transparency, the man who holds something back becomes dangerous. Not because he's hiding, but because he's in control. People will try to read you like a book, but you're not a book. You're a locked journal. And that, my friend, makes you unforgettable. You've probably seen it before. They ask you deep questions out of nowhere. They test your reactions. They try to push you just enough to see if they can shake your calm. But when they can't, when you give just enough to be real, but not enough to be fully predictable, they become hooked. Not because they know everything about you, but because they don't. You become the exception, the unsolved puzzle, the one they can't quite label or box in. And in a world where everyone's either performing or oversharing, that restraint, that inner stillness, it's not just rare, it's irresistible. As Bruce Lee said, the successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus. And when that focus is turned inward, when you don't need to be fully understood to feel valuable, that's when others become obsessed with trying to understand you. Sign 8. You're focused on purpose, not pursuit. This is the one most men miss. They think attraction comes from chasing harder, saying the right things, making the right moves. But the truth is, when you shift your energy from pursuing women to pursuing purpose, everything changes. Your mind sharpens, your habits evolve, your schedule gets tighter, and suddenly you're not chasing anyone, you're chasing legacy. And that is where real attraction lives. Because when a man is on a mission, he stops broadcasting neediness. He's not waiting on a text, not refreshing his DMs, not wondering, do they like me? He's wondering, am I better than I was yesterday? That kind of focus is magnetic, because most people are aimless, drifting, distracted. So when they see a man locked into something real, something that wakes him up early and keeps him grinding late, they feel it. They want to be near it. Not because he's trying to attract them, but because he's already going somewhere they wish they were going. It's not just your ambition they notice, it's the way you carry it. Unapologetically, relentlessly, silently. You don't ask for permission to succeed. You build quietly until they can't ignore you. As Viktor Frankl wrote, those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. That's what makes you attractive. Not your looks, not your status, but your why and the unshakable discipline behind it. The moment you start living for something greater than approval, you stop orbiting other people's validation, and you become the center of gravity. The becoming. So now you've heard the signs, and maybe, just maybe, you've seen yourself in every single one. Even if the world hasn't confirmed it yet, even if no one has clapped for you, even if you've spent most of your life thinking you were just average. Let this be your wake-up call, because attraction isn't found in someone else's eyes. It's revealed in how you move when no one's watching, in how you hold your ground when the room gets loud, in how you refuse to shrink even when no one is clapping. See, The most attractive men aren't chasing recognition. They're chasing mastery. They're building in silence. They're walking a path so few are willing to walk. A path that makes them magnetic without ever saying a word. And now it's your turn. Don't fall back into old patterns. Don't water yourself down just to be liked. Don't wait for someone else to name your value. Own it. Protect it. Walk with it. Because the world doesn't need another man seeking attention. It needs one who commands it with stillness, clarity, and purpose. So if this video struck something deep, don't just leave. Like it, share it, subscribe. Join the channel as a member to help us keep putting real masculinity and inner power back where it belongs, in you. We're not chasing numbers, we're chasing truth. And this community, it's built for men who are done being overlooked and ready to be undeniable. Drop this final mantra in the comments if you're claiming this version of you today. I'm not performing, I'm becoming. Until next time, stay silent, stay sharp, stay dangerous. This is your season, and they're about to feel